Okay, welcome to this month's Culinary Hour. As agreed upon last time, we're going to cover Scandinavia. Scandinavian countries, if you look, the landmass, mostly in Northern Europe, it covers Norway, Sweden, Finland. There's 3 peninsulas going from west to east. That's Norway, Sweden, Finland. Down below that's Denmark, and to the left of that would be Iceland. Some people don't include Iceland and Sweden, but for our purposes we will, because the culinary aspects are pretty much similar in that area. The climate, what they grow, very short growing season for the vegetables, but very big on poultry, pork, chicken, veal. You'll see today on the dishes that I make, especially freshwater fish, very cold in the ocean area, in lake waters, fresh waters. They do like fresh fish. Salmon is very big in all those countries. History of Scandinavian countries has been interrupted with unions, wars, peace, and trade as far back as history. As a result, there really is no distinct Scandinavian cuisines that were determined by geographical or social context, although there are national dishes. For instance, Norway, pork, veal, and fish are very prevalent. Denmark, high levels of meat and animal fat, and low levels of, it says and, but it means and, low levels of vegetables. Game and fish are preferred. Sweden, rutabaga, turnips, herring, and potato. Those are basically suggestions. For the most part, root vegetables are commonplace. Short growing season, because root vegetables have a long lasting time. Once they're harvested, you can put them in root cellar. They last for months and months after harvest. That goes true with the pork. Pork and veal are very prevalent in all of those countries. Root vegetables, very prevalent, which you'll see here today in my curing mix. All Scandinavian dinners, the main meal of the day, as opposed to most of the rest of Europe, includes a meat and potato, and it's the biggest meal of the day. The rest of Europe usually does it big meal at day, middle of the day. Scandinavian saves it for dinner. Breakfasts include whole bread and butter, honey, jam, or savory spreads such as cheeses, ham, or sausage. Breads, biscuits, pastry, and coffee are served around 2 p.m. Mid-meal, really non-existent. If you want a snack, they will. For the most part, they save the big meal of the day at night. Norwegian beet and horseradish salmon. I'd like to look at the first page of your handout. This is typical of a Scandinavian cure. Everybody here's heard of gravlax? You look at the bottom of the page. Typically, gravlax is painted with akavit. Anybody know what akavit is? It's a liquor fermented with caraway. You know, it's a rye bread, the rye seed. Caraway seed. They use it in like different things like that, but they ferment that with gin, lemon juice, salt, sugar, black pepper, and dill. Now, for the most part, the cure mix that I'm using, equal parts of sugar and salt. It's very rare that you go over sugar than salt. Usually people use less than that, but for this purpose, I like to use equal amounts because sugar, as you'll see, will be a tenderizer in the final product. So I'm going to start the first recipe we do today is the beet and horseradish salmon cure. Curing is like a process that's kind of developed over the years, very traditional. If they go on long fishing trips, say, and you know you're going to be out for 3 or 4 days at a time, so your first catch of the day, if you keep that on your boat, it's going to rot by the time you come back, okay? So they developed, obviously they found out the inherent nature of salt. So salt being is very anhydrous, which that means it's like it needs water. So what that does, as soon as you eliminate water from any product, you're going to preserve it. Microbes are not going to survive, they won't do that. So the first catch of the day, maybe the first or second day, they would catch their fish, eviscerate it, fillet it, and they would pack it with salt. Now, knowing full well they're going to have a long trip and then come back again, they would take on the side, they pull over on the side, dig holes in the ground, mark it, and they'd pack their fish with salt because they bury it underground so like animals wouldn't get it. And second of all, on the return trip, as soon as the trip was done, they had a fresh fish. All we had to do was go back and pick up all the stuff they buried in the ground and then have cured and preserved fish. You don't have to worry about that, keep it on the boat. So they found that way to do that. So your first catch of the day would be buried, they go back and fresh fish and come back, pick all the stuff that's buried in the ground on the way back and have to worry about it rotting or anything like that. But since then, besides doing the basic salt cure, it's traditional to do, this is a wild Atlantic salmon here, about 3 pounds, I'll show you. For this particular one, I'm going to get rid of this fat cap right here. So basically I'm going to deal with this. What I'm doing is scoring the back of this, because as a cure happens, it might have a tendency to curl the meat. I don't want the juices to come down from the bottom. This cure If you look in the recipes, I'm using about a pound of horseradish and fresh beet as the flavoring agents. I'm just doing this to get it busting my knuckles. Does it really quick, you know? Fresh horseradish root is right here. Basically what you have is a combination. Now, the final product of this, you're going to see the finished one, it lends a very nice color to the flavor of the fish. You see, like now it's like orange, kind of peachy flavor. After a 3-day cure, which is kind of maximum for something like this, you'll see the flesh becomes a nice magenta on the outside. It renders flavor. Horseradish is really strong. Simple cure, 6 ounces salt, 6 ounces of sugar, and I use a fresh cracked black pepper as a cure. And from this point, this is what they have, cheesecloth. Buy in any store really. What this does is keep the cure intact with the fish. I'm going to put it over this perforated pan. What you want to do is, this fish, as I said before, that salt cure and sugar is going to be an interface. As soon as I put it in the flesh on the top of this, the salt is going to extract the water from the salmon. It's also going to extract, as it is right now, making a juice from the horseradish and beet cure. So, nature being as it is doesn't like chaos for the most part. You're dealing with like a situation where you have a high salt area, and then as soon as the water starts being extracted from here and there, salt has a tendency to go into areas where it's not prevalent. Obviously this is not seasoned yet, and the vegetables weren't either. So what happens is you're making this moisture as it attacks the vegetables, the beet and horseradish in particular, and the salmon, and eventually ends up mixing. So what happens is the salt layer here will extract the juice from here, will render the juice from here, and because of gravity, obviously helps out, we'll weigh it down later too. The salmon will eventually take in all the sodium solution that has been extracted from these vegetables. That's what you're going to do with flavor. But the final product isn't salty at all, you'll find out. Basically, I'm just going to spit this out. I think this spice horseradish is pretty strong. Can you smell it? Burn my eyes. You want to pack it actually thicker towards the top and thinner towards the tail, because there's less meat. At this point, this complete wrap in cheesecloth, and then what I would do is weigh it like this on a sheet pan on top, weigh it down for about a 3-day cure, okay? What that does is salt is going to start actually activating now, extracting the moisture from both the salmon and the vegetable product. And even though it's not cooked, it's really edible because the fact is you eliminated all, you created an atmosphere where the moisture is reduced to a very high level. So there's no microbes that can actually infiltrate and do that. So it's not a cooked animal. So the first part of this actually thing is not cooking, is curing. So I really have to do any heat for this. So I'll show you the final product. You'll see. See, the salmon takes on a nice magenta hue with the beets.
Oh my goodness.
So you see that after the cure.
Yeah.
So you can see that difference there. So the beet is kind of like infiltrated the top layer with the horseradish. You can see the natural color of the salmon coming through. So the first course, what I did is this cured salmon I put it on top of a herb goat cheese crostini with some dill. So if you present it with something like really stark with white, on the outside you'll see like the natural colors coming through. That's only the beet juice really coming through, but it helps to accentuate that. The next dish we're going to do is a Danish dish. It's called frikadeller.
Sounds like a curse recipe.
Doesn't it really?
Frikadelle. Tastes good.
Like it? Good.
Yeah, I didn't think I'd like
It's like
it.
what happens is as you add more sugar to the cure, if I added like less sugar, and it wouldn't have that buttery, softer texture. So the sugar adds like a lot of moisture to the cure. What do you think? Is it all right? Yeah. Something different, right?
Very different.
Good. So it's mild. You say like you're not going to taste really salt on that cure. So what happens is once that fish is cured after 3 days, all you got to do is unwrap it from the cheesecloth, scrape that cure off, and slice it. That's what I do.
Keep that in the refrigerator?
Under refrigeration. Now after it's cured, something like this I wouldn't keep past 7 days. So like right now, the one I just packed with salt and things like that, I'll cure that for 3 days, scrape the cure off, and that's all you have to do, and then keep it for 7 more days. So, and also too, it's like you keep the fat, the skin on the bottom, or first of all, it helps it aid in your slicing, because you can hold that tail meat, but there's a nice little fat cap that goes underneath the skin, the flesh, and you want to keep that. So once the moisture is extracted, the fat is flavor. So it adds that like buttery texture to it. Eliminate the moisture, but you concentrate the fat and the texture that flavor the fish. But the sugar in this cure is equal parts salt to sugar. You can go a little less, but the more sugar that you add in the cure aids in the tenderizers the meat as well too. Okay. It doesn't taste sweet either. Here's a little beet, little horseradish, but it's not that powerful, overpowering. Okay, the next one, actually, first time I came across this, I was in the culinary. Frikadelle, it's a Danish. One of the national dishes of Denmark. Danish meat patties with a cucumber salad. So it's kind of hot, served with cold. First thing is I want to review. Okay, saute method. I went over this a couple times. Everybody know why we have curved pans on a saute pan? I covered it a couple times. Everybody know why?
Why?
What am I trying to do when I'm sauteing?
Flip it?
Right? I'm trying to eliminate a lot of moisture, right? So you see the curve in these pans? No matter if the vapors come up, it won't collect on the sides and condense. So what happens is no matter where my liquid is, the pan is always bigger, so it vaporizes really quickly, evaporates very quickly. That's why I have a curved pan when you saute. Intense heat, eliminate the moisture.
Clever, I'm so impressed.
Now this particular one I'm using whole butter. Has a tendency to burn, so I'm going to add oil first. Okay, I want butter flavor, but I want to have a higher smoke point, so I'm going to add some regular oil to it. And then my butter. The first part of the recipe, you're going to saute a couple onions. Always season as you go, a little salt and pepper. Now, every time you add an ingredient to the pan, cover it a couple times. Always season with the addition of each ingredient. You really want to taste salt. You want to taste pepper too much. What happens is the salt, like I said, helps to eliminate a lot of moisture from your product. Okay, accentuates the natural flavor of things. So it's called salt, pepper. Well, salt is actually called the master seasoning, because it enhances whatever it's added to. Even like if you're baking things, a pinch of salt goes a long way. Yeah, at this point in time you want to stop. I'm looking for translucence in the onions. I'm not sure you can see it. It's not like fully cooked, But you kind of see through the outside on the thinner. This particular dish, veal and pork are really big in Scandinavian countries. So these actually meat patties are consisting of a 50% portion of veal and pork, ground. And of course, dairy and eggs are very big there. What I'll be making now is called, in French cooking, is called a panada, a binder. Sometimes when you make meatloaf, adding breadcrumbs as a stabilizer, do that. Use fresh bread. Use white bread crust removed because the crust will not dissolve that readily in the cream and the yolk mixture that I'm going to make. So I'll cut these off. This I'm going to add the cream. And about 4 eggs. I'm going to stir and liquefy the eggs a bit. I can add the bread right to this mixture and submerge it. That's it. For seasoning, we add pepper, salt, and nutmeg. Nutmeg and cardamom are used a lot in Scandinavian cuisine too. It's a nice subtle flavor. It really goes good with like wire meats, your chickens, porks, veals, things like that really aren't intense in flavor. You do the sauteed onions. Kind of see if the ones that are remaining, translucent means they're kind of like glossy. Okay, they're not fully cooked, but you can kind of see they're not opaque anymore. At this point in time, the bread is pretty much broken up. I serve this, seen it served as meatballs or as patties. Today what I did, basically like a really simple kind of Salisbury steak, if you will, for the most part. It ends up being just an egg and breadcrumb stabilizer with your meat, touch of nutmeg, salt, and pepper, very simple. Most Scandinavian cuisine, for the most part, isn't like really heavily seasoned, not really spicy too much. They would have like a simple meat with a sauce to augment the flavor of the meat. So it's really not intense in flavor as you would like a Southwestern cuisine. So don't expect anything that's very intense with like heat or spice or anything like that. More subtle in the cooking. At this point in time, you see the meat is very pasty, okay? But with the addition of the breadcrumbs and the egg, this gets chilled. So after you chill it for about an hour and a half, the breadcrumb has a tendency, it's called a panada, it's a binder. The panada meaning egg, breadcrumb, and cream acts as the binder, okay, for the meat. So after about an hour, hour and a half in the refrigerator, this gets very stiff, and you form about 2-ounce patties, okay, with that. And traditionally, you just saute it, in the clarified butter and finish it in an oven. Or you can fully cook it in the butter all the way. So what I did is I served it with a Madeira sauce. Need a pan over big pot, right? And then the third recipe you're going to say, the cucumber salad, very easy to do. I didn't have, I'm not going to show you that today for the most part, very simple. What you're going to do is equal parts of cider vinegar and sugar, bay leaf, salt and pepper, and you bring that to a boil to dissolve the sugar. After that cools down, you would pour it over any vegetables, in particular I'm using today's cucumber and carrot. Cucumber salad is very big in that area too as well. So I'm going to serve the Danish meat patties with this cucumber salad. Any questions so far?
You make it look so easy. Because you make it look so easy.
Oh, I'm just trying to cram it in there, but it's
You're really
good.
good at it.
How'd you like the salmon? Was it all right? It's not something I normally have that's not cooked, but it's cured, you know, so it's safe to eat, I assure you, but something different. Yes?
Why do you use cream?
Fat content and plus dairy, animal husbandry is very big in Scandinavia. So creams, cheeses, things like that would be a liquid of choice. It does render like the milk protein, first of all, in the cream will help to solidify when it cooks, but also adds a lot of fat. It's a natural fat additive too. So they use that a lot of sauces, white sauces, cream sauces. They have yogurt sauces, things like that. You know, say anything, a lot of dairy. So liquid of choice, and a lot of these things is dairy. Plus, it's a very good browning agent once it's exposed to heat. The milk proteins adds fat and a little browning too. Yeah. Quite crowded. Nothing? Yes.
What if you don't have fresh horseradish?
You can use another cure. Parsnips. Horseradish is a very intense flavor. Okay. You're not going to you didn't really taste it too much in the salmon, maybe slightly. You get anything like a typical root vegetable would be nice. You can go all beet if you'd like. If you're not into that, you can. I wouldn't use a prepared horseradish because that already comes salted in vinegar, and it has like a salt and vinegar product. So you want like a raw thing. You get like a parsnip, a salsa feed, or something like that. That would render the flavor to the meat, but not like overpower it. You don't want a prepared horseradish. You know, anything raw, like a good root vegetable would work. All right, I'm gonna start serving this up for you. Okay. So we're gonna bet next month, guys. What are you thinking? What do you want to do next month? We did a lot of Europe. French? Really? Wow, there's a lot to do there. Okay. Any friends? Sounds good.
How about Irish?
Get some snails in? Yeah. Yep. Sweet. All right. I did Irish. I think I did a lamb. I did Rhode Island. I think we did.
You did?
Yeah, we did that. You weren't here for that one, I think. Yeah, you weren't there for that. So yeah, we'll look at France. So there's a lot of things to do there. Talk about Escoffier and how he codified all French cooking and things like that. So there's a lot of things there. That's kind of the standard because the culinary is basically rooted in traditional French cuisine and French methods. So there's so much to cover there. So that could actually be like a 4-hour stint and not even scratch the surface. But we'll try our best with that one. But yeah. So what can I do with the friends? Nice. Terrific. Thanks.